We are live. Let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. We have Ashtyn Barbaree. How's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you on. It's kind of a unique experience that we live pretty far away from each other, but we're both experiencing like the same weather system cell situation. So
yeah, it makes us feel like neighbors.
Right. I was telling my dad this morning, I was like, I'm actually really glad I didn't go to I'm supposed to be in Nashville right now.
Oh, yeah.
And then I ended up having to cancel it way ahead of time. And then yesterday or Monday, I saw the weather coming in and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be making that drive. So
I just drove actually from Nashville to here yesterday.
Nice. How bad? Or well, because you probably drove during the daytime, so I'm sure it wasn't bad.
So I drove from it was actually like 8:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. Monday night, so we could beat the snow because it started snowing here Tuesday morning. So.
Nice. So excited to have you here, excited to chat a little bit, get to know more about you. For anybody that hasn't met you before, kind of give us a brief introduction to who you are and what you're about.
Sure. So I'm a singer-songwriter from Fayetteville, Arkansas, kind of nestled in the Ozark Mountains. And I grew up here and I started playing music when I was a young teenager at farmers markets and kind of fell in love with the indie folk storytelling aspect of lyrics and everything like that. And I've been playing music full time since I was a teenager.
Nice. One place I need to spend more time is Arkansas in general. My dad lived in Pine Bluff for a good little bit when he was younger, before I was even a thought in his mind. So, but he tells me all the cool stories and it's like, maybe I need to go spend some more time in Arkansas.
Yeah, there's some neat spots. I think there's little gyms in all the states.
Right, 100%. So growing up in Arkansas, who introduced you to music? Like, was that something that your parents introduced you to, or did you kind of find that one on your own?
So I grew up with my mom as she was really young, and she was very kind of artsy and eclectic, and she always had really great music on. So growing up, I heard stuff from like Hank Williams and Johnny Cash to Ray Charles to Portishead to Bjork, Fiona Apple. Like, it was very diverse alternative music, and she was friends with a lot of musicians too. So we had musicians sleeping on the couch, and I was always very inspired. So
nice. I mean, that's got to show like true love for the art of musicianship and writing, because if you're inspired by musicians sleeping on your couch and you're kind of seeing the hardcore lifestyle that is being a musician, it's like, well, you must really be in love with it. So
yes, I've always thought it was really beautiful, and I don't know, just drawn to like the different sounds people can create, and then how they tell their story, and like what type of instruments they build to best convey it. It's just fascinating to me.
100%. So kind of moving forward with you and your music, so it was pretty much right off the bat, you knew you could sing, or did that take a little convincing on your end?
I feel like I'm an unconventional singer, and I'm still kind of, learning and growing as a writer and musician and vocalist and everything. I just, for the first time a couple months ago, had my first voice lesson, and I'm trying to learn some cool stuff, but I was always drawn to it because it was a really therapeutic way for me to get out whatever I was feeling. And I've never, I actually tell everybody, I'm not the best singer, I'm not the best musician, but I love it and I'm passionate about it and I work really hard with it. So it wasn't like I've known that I was good at it since I was little. I've just always been so drawn to it.
Nice. So your drive and passion for the art itself is kind of what's the driving factor behind you getting into music.
I really love it. I mean, getting to share something personal about you and experiences with others, and then they're connecting. It's just this like magic feeling.
100%. So mentioned that you just took your first voice lesson not too long ago. What kind of prompted that idea? Was it the like actually releasing music and it's like, oh, hey, maybe this is something I should explore, or what kind of prompted that?
Well, I've always been open to it, like since like as long as I've been around, I always like to learn more about different things. And so the last couple years I've taken like some songwriting classes. And I think part of the thing with voice is that's such a personal thing that I only wanted to take a lesson from someone that I really, really respected and trusted a lot. And one of my good friends and mentors and co-writers, made some posts on Instagram, and she's like, I'm taking on some students. And I texted her and I was like, oh my God, I would love to take lessons with you. And so it kind of just, the fact it was like the perfect person that I really respect made me like just absolutely up for it. So
Right. And I mean, that's got to be a unique experience in and of itself. Like you've already kind of figured out what kind of musician you are. You've already kind of established a voice and a sound. Right. And now you're going in with like your fundamentals, like your base, and kind of being refined a bit.
Yes. And I mean, I think part of it is just like learning how to better use this tool and like learning about warm-ups and like even knowing, like I didn't realize some of my songs, she was like, oh, you should move this up slightly. And I was like, oh, I had no idea, just learning more about your voice. And it's been really fun.
Right. And like, I mean, doing it the way you're doing it allows you to remain yourself and unique. Because I feel like a lot of musicians tend to go get voice lessons first to learn how to sing. And then they end up just becoming not a complete clone, but like a bit of a clone of like what's going on in the industry or what's deemed good.
Sure.
Where it's like, I feel like if musicians just kind of, or singers, songwriters, just kind of establish their voice first and then do singing lessons, it makes it for a little bit more interesting dynamic.
Yeah. And I think like, I'll keep the uniqueness, the different kind of voice that I have with this. I'm learning how to use it better. So.
Right. 100%. So you're in Arkansas. What's the scene like in Arkansas? Is the scene pretty healthy there, or at least in Fayetteville? Or?
Yeah. So we have Northwest Arkansas is interesting. So we have like the University of Arkansas's main campus is in Fayetteville. And then we also have some community colleges, and we have some like businesses, like larger businesses that invest in the local art scene with like grants and help bring in programming and stuff to help educate us, which is cool. Mid-America Arts Alliance also does like classes and things here to help keep us like on the map and knowing what we're doing. But I think it's a pretty cool scene. There's more venues for like singer-songwriter, solo duo acts than full bands. I wish there was more places and like more of a demand for like full band shows in Arkansas. But there are some, but that's probably a issue in a lot of places.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a bigger issue in a lot of places that aren't Nashville, Austin, LA, or New York. So,
sure.
So you'd mentioned you just came back from Nashville. How often are you traveling out there?
I'm going, like, the past couple of months, I've been there a few times. I'm actually turning back around and going there, like, in 10 days. I have a show, but I've been going over there all the time to write and grab coffee with friends and play, and I'm keeping that road back and forth.
Right. Well, it's not that far of a trip, is it? What is it, like 6 hours?
It's supposed to be like 8 hours.
Okay.
When it's thunderstorming, like on Saturday. It took me like, I don't know, 10.
Oh, okay. Fair.
But it's not bad, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty straight.
I tend to forget how much further east Nashville is because I've made the trip from like Waco to Memphis,
Yes.
and that's only like 7 hours, but then you've still got another like 2.5, 3
Yeah.
on top of that. So to get out to Nashville.
But yeah, I always enjoy it there. I feel like just like everywhere you go, there's musicians and it's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are you kind of at creatively right now? I know you just released an album towards the end of last year. How's that whole process been?
It's been amazing. You know, this is the first record that I recorded in Arkansas, produced myself, and I used an all Arkansan team. So it feels really personal and it's been really fun. I've been enjoying these songs, and then I've been writing a lot also. I've been diving into like Adrian Linker's songwriting with open tunings and writing for some different projects. I have a lot of new material and I'm trying to decide the best way and what kind of arrangements I want to record them.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And so the album that you just released at the end of the year is called Sent Through the Ceiling, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How long's that project kind of been in the works?
So this one was a pretty fast turnaround compared to the others. Most of the songs on Sent Through the Ceiling, I wrote in the fall of 2023. I kind of decided to go back to my first instrument of piano and see what it'd be like to write on it. And I don't know, it was really interesting, but those kind of got written in the fall of 2023 and then recorded the day after Christmas, 2023. And then I released it October 2024.
Nice. What was the inspiration by going back to the piano and like experimenting with that or playing with that sound?
Well, something that I noticed was that when I don't know if it's like posture or what exactly, but when I sit down on the piano, my voice had this like very dramatic shift and it's had more maturity to it. And I haven't figured out exactly how that's happening or what the reason is. Like it could be literally like my posture with my hands, or maybe it's the style of strumming I'm doing on guitar. I'm not sure exactly what happens, but my voice sounds, I think, very different when I play piano. And that was part of my inspiration for just trying to write some songs on there instead of playing classical music.
Right. You know, it very well could be posture. Because I feel like when your posture is more upright, you're not forcing anything like you would be if you're a little more hunched over and you're trying to strong arm your voice.
Yes, and also like because I started off playing like as a teenager at farmers markets and busking, I feel like naturally when I play guitar, I'm like moving around and like my feet are moving and it's like very moving around. And on piano, you're very still, and so. I feel like that certainly could be contributing.
Oh, for sure. You very well could have been exerting too much energy playing guitar, which that sounds ridiculous. But like the way you're describing it, it's like if you're moving around and all that stuff, it's like you very well could have been exerting way too much energy playing.
Yeah. So that was part of the inspiration. Another thing that had happened was I had tried writing a song on guitar and open tuning, and then later on moving it to piano, like as an experiment. And I loved the sound of it. And so that also contributed to, I was like, let's do piano.
Right. That's cool. So do you think you'll continue as piano as your primary like writing instrument, or do you think the versatility and the mobility of having the guitar with you to take to Nashville kind of plays into effect?
I feel like it's both. I've been playing both. Like most shows, I have been playing guitar and singing. And when I switch those songs back to guitar, I think they do well. But whenever I'm back in Europe and they have pianos everywhere, I'll certainly be playing more piano.
Nice. It's how often do you go back to Europe?
So I'm going back March 9th, and I was not planning to go back this soon. This will have been a year since I was there last, but usually it's more like 18 months to 2 years. But this was kind of an unusual situation because I'm a finalist for a contest, and so that kind of prompted a whole tour.
Nice, that's fair. And so you're born and raised in Fayetteville, correct?
So I was born actually in Ruston, Louisiana, but I've been in Fayetteville since I was like 2.5.
Okay, fair.
So
you're technically a Louisianan, but
yes.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand.
But I claim Fayetteville. I mean, like, Fayetteville's literally all that I know or remember.
Right. And so when did you start going back and forth over to Europe? Was that when you started playing music, or were you doing that before you got into music?
So that was whenever I was playing music. So right after I released my first album, that was in 2018. Mm-hmm. There's like an organization called So Far Sounds, and they've gotten a bad rep lately, but I know they've been changing some of their structures and things like that for paying artists. But in 2018, I had played one of their shows, was actually one of my first solo shows ever in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I went on their platform and I just started applying to like all of them all over the world just to see what would happen. So once they confirmed something in Germany in 2018, I started trying to like email more venues across Europe. And I ended up it was a little tour. It was mostly like Denmark and then Germany in 2018. And that was my first time going over there. I just like cold emailed venues in another country.
Right.
The audio off my record and was like, can I play here? And they booked me. So it was cool. But nice. After going that first time, I learned a lot and have met musicians there and built relationships with some of the venues over time. And so now when I go back, the shows are better and it's nice.
Nice. I love that. It's I think those relationships are important, and those venue relationships are something that we're currently trying to build out just because we've got some other stuff in the works. But I think those especially the smaller venues where you see more of the money, like any money that's like made for tickets or, however it works, sure. Where you see some of that money. Whereas like if you go to like a bigger venue, you may not exactly see that money because the overhead's a lot more.
Sure.
But I think that's really cool and important, especially over in Europe, kind of helping you expand your music. So
yeah, they're so kind over there and seem to really like the kind of Americana singer-songwriter music. So I'm
Oh yeah, they've got a whole Americana kind of scene, which is very interesting, funny, ironic, all the things, because it's like, it's not America, but you like Americana.
So when I was over there last March, I was in this venue in the Netherlands, and this guy got up and he started singing about Memphis and then Tulsa, and I was just like, what is happening? He's never been to either of those places, and I was just like grinning and blown away.
I love it. I feel like a lot of people that sing about Memphis but never have been there, you might need to go there first before you start singing about Memphis.
Well, I liked it because I was like, you've got a cowboy hat on, a belt buckle, and you're talking about two towns like a couple hours from me.
Right.
I felt very like entertained.
It's like hearing a story about your hometown, but from somebody that's never been to your hometown.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. So like looking at you and your music now, obviously you're still out promoting your album and stuff like that, but are you currently writing, recording? Like where are you kind of at in your own creative process right now?
So I just about maybe 2 months ago, I actually recorded 6 more songs. Nice. And I went over to Nashville and recorded some, and they're going to air on this. It's an NPR arts podcast that's going to go up in April, but I do these fun projects for them. So those 6 songs will be coming soon. I may end up releasing one of those as a demo just for fun. Nice. But we'll see. I've got a lot of new material, and I've been writing regularly as well. I am going to for sure get into the studio in the UK and record a single with a girl from Arkansas and two British girls doing like all female harmonies. So
Nice.
that'll in the future.
Nice. That sounds oddly well, not oddly interesting, but that's just so you're bringing over another girl from Arkansas, or are you referring to yourself?
No, another girl from Arkansas.
Oh, okay. Because when you said a girl from Arkansas, I was like, wait a minute, you just happen to run into a girl from Arkansas that happens to be in the UK, and now you're going to work together? That sounds amazing. So.
Well, so I have someone that's coming with me, and we're going to do some shows as a duo, and then we're going to co-bill some, and she's actually like a dual citizen, and so.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. I love it. So where are you kind of at show-wise right now? Obviously, you're promoting your album and kind of working on a bunch of other projects. How often are you playing right now in Arkansas? And, just what's that look like?
So, like I'm doing a couple shows a week for sure. Whenever I get over to Europe, it'll be more like, I don't know, 4 or 5 per week sometimes. And then with the warmer weather, it gets busy. But I'm playing in Arkansas, I don't know, at least once a month. And then I'm getting into a lot of new regions this year. I'm about to announce some stuff in like Minnesota and back out to the East Coast and all these random kind of runs. I'm getting out there more. So.
Very nice. I think you need to come on out to Texas.
Yes, I was talking back and forth to a venue today, and I plan to be down there this year.
Awesome. I keep pushing Texas, and everybody tells me, what, the second you bring up Texas, then I hear from 7 other people saying, oh yeah, you need to go to Texas.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because Texas is awesome. Not like I'm not from Texas. Obviously, you could tell I'm from Illinois, but just I've been here 5.5 years, and I love Texas. So.
Yeah, I really love it. I haven't. It's funny. I'm so close to Texas, but last year I played a couple times in like Dallas, and then I've played down in Austin as well. But it's been a little bit. I'm planning to make a round back there.
Nice. I love it. I love it so much. And then, so just kind of outside of music, what do you like to get into? What do you like to do outside of music?
Well, I don't know. So there's snow right now outside, and I really like the snow. I don't like the cold very much, but when it's snowy, I love it. So I walked around like for a bit and like went up and looked out at this pretty view, like kind of some fresh air and walking around and looking at pretty things. I have a geology degree actually. Nice. And I just love, there's a lot of like things I love about like the beautiful outdoors, like rivers and all of that, mountains and volcanoes and.
Nice. Now, was that something that you actively pursued after going to school? Like, was that something you thought like a career path you were actually going to take, or was that just kind of an intro?
So I started playing music full time in like 2011. So I was a teenager, and in 2013 I was only 16, and I went to college. And part of the reason why was I was playing at that time. I was doing 300 shows a year around Arkansas, like literally everywhere that would have music I was playing. But some of the time when I would book things out of state, like in Tulsa or Springfield, Missouri, I would get there and then they'd be like, oh, you're too young, you can't, we're not gonna let you play, or you're gonna have to sit outside when you're not on stage, like just crazy stuff. And then I tried to like email some venues like outside of Arkansas and Missouri, and then they were like, oh, sorry, we only book artists that are 21. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to school. I've always been good at math and science. So while I was in school, I was doing the Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma circuit. And then as soon as I graduated, the night I turned 21, I played in New York City.
Nice. I love that. I
kind of like hid out in school a little bit. I've always, I like both my parents are into math and science, and I've always loved it. And so it kind of made sense. I was doing a lot of homework in bars and stuff when I was in school, like on set breaks. So
oh yeah,
kind of part of the story.
the young musicians that aren't 21 that kind of get those kind of gigs, some of those stories are my favorite stories to hear, just because they're so random. Like the my favorite story to tell is one of the guys that I not grew live and amplified around. So he was in a band in Roswell, New Mexico, where we started live and amplified, and we loved working with him or whatever. And I got him on a one-on-one podcast, the lead singer of this band, and I was just asking him, like, just talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it's hard being 17 in a metal band full of late 20s and early 30 somethings, especially when we go on tour, because they want to drink and have fun, and I can't." And he would tell me these stories about how he would sneak into the venue, play his set, sneak out of the venue while they're drinking and having a good old time. He's in the van doing his calculus homework because he can't do nothing else.
That is so funny, because part of my whole thing was like doing calculus homework at like bars. Like I would be a young teenager, literally, like I have a song about doing homework in bars.
Nice. Is that song recorded anywhere?
Yes, on my very first album that I recorded in 2017, that song's called "Cinnamon in My Coffee," and I was pretty young, and you can hear a big shift in my voice from then to now, but it's part of the story, and it goes into that. But that is so funny. I remember sneaking into a venue in Hot Springs to just play the show and then sneak out. But that's so funny, because I haven't heard. That's not something a lot of artists connect on, because
well, because especially I think that's an important story to hear, because I feel like a lot of musicians nowadays are starting off younger and younger and younger. Like I've been doing the podcast since 2016, and since 2020 we've been doing it consistently full time, not full time, like it's not my job or whatever, but like consistently full time. And I've had so many musicians on here that are 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and they're all actively playing gigs. And I'm like, where do you play at? Because you're not getting into a bar, you'll get into a restaurant, maybe a coffee shop, but where are you playing at? And they're like, oh, we just let our parents or whoever book it and we go play.
I played in bar. Like I feel like the first time I played a bar, I was probably 13 or 14. But that's Arkansas. So it was like, I remember some of the time there was a bar where I live in Fayetteville. I won't name him to get him in trouble, but I was playing a show there, and I went up to the bar and I asked for a water. And they were like, I need your ID. And I was like, oh, I'm playing, I just need a water. And then they kicked me out. And I was like, I just wanted water.
That's funny. Oh, that's so
thankful to be 21, over 21.
Yeah.
Makes being a musician a lot easier.
Right. And that's the thing, is it's like, kudos to all these young musicians, but it's just like the venues you played, most of them you have to be at least 18. So how are you playing these venues? I don't get it. So, but.
And I think there's some exceptions, like if sometimes when young artists are extraordinarily like insanely talented, they skip some of those bars and restaurants and then get kind of whisked away into some venues. But there's a lot of us that are starting off in that restaurant bar scene,
right?
Sneaking in the back door.
It's a grind. It's a grind. And I think a lot of people need to hear that grind. And it's one of those things where it's like, it builds the character. Like I've always waited to hear the story of somebody to say, yeah, I was 17 years old going out. I went out on tour, drove 7 hours to get to a gig, and then they kicked me out because I wasn't 18 or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm just kind of waiting for that story to come, because I feel like that's like the big learning lesson to be like, so. Yeah,
I didn't drive 7 hours, but I drove like 3 to get turned down. So halfway to your story.
I mean, still 3, that's a long way to like go just to be like, hey, you can't play here. And it's like, but why? So I get it. So kind of looking forward, what's the plan for the rest of the year?
So March will be shows in UK, Ireland, and Netherlands, which is going to be lovely. And then when I get back, I'm doing a little tour with a girl out of St. Louis named Molly Healy. She's lovely. I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff. I'll have everything up on my website and Spotify, but definitely a Minnesota and Wisconsin tour, back to Nashville, some North Carolina, Alabama and Mississippi. So
I dig it.
it'll all be on my website.
Staying busy. That I love to hear it. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. So who are you listening to right now? Like who's got your ear right now as far as whether it be somebody locally there in Arkansas or somebody in Nashville? Like who are you listening to right now? That's
So
really got, yeah.
some like two of my favorite people that I've been listening to is Josiah and the Bonnevilles, and Jade Bird, like the girl from UK. I just love like their songwriting and stuff. I also really like listening to Suzanne Santo. But I jump around some, but those are some that really like have caught my attention.
Nice. Would you say they've kind of inspired your songwriting recently, or is it more of you just enjoy listening to what they're doing?
I feel like I'm enjoying listening to what they're doing and kind of like listening to their like storytelling and how they're setting the scene and like kind of interesting phrasing. I feel like the stuff that I wrote most recently, I feel like would be more inspired by like Adrian Linker because it was in open tunings. So I was kind of like leaning into that a little bit, but I don't know. I'm always really intrigued by the way, like if something gets stuck in my head, I'm like, why is that stuck in my head? Is it because of how this chorus was, or vocally how they jumped up between like just kind of studying it and being like, why do I love that?
Yes. And do you think that's kind of your approach to music in general, is just kind of like a studying the why in it?
I feel like it's a mix. Like I think studying the why, but also trying to be open-minded and listen to different genres and like take aspects of it and being like, this isn't something I would typically listen to, but this part of it is inspiring. And then also just trying to like learn and better myself at these different things, like practicing piano more and learning more guitar scales and my voice, just kind of approaching it from a lot of different angles. But I feel like the thing that's like impacted me the most recently was in a songwriting class that I was doing online, kind of zooming into the small details of a scene instead of trying to be relatable, instead of writing, trying to be like, oh, other people will connect with this, like disregarding that and just zooming into any details that catch your attention. And naturally, if it's authentic and resonating with you, it ends up sometimes resonating with others.
Oh yeah. That's the most important part. Like, I think a lot of musicians need to know, learn, whatever, and they tend to skip over the authenticity factor.
Yeah, that's like I don't know. Like I have like a theory that people in the U.S. that are like live in mountain regions, seem to write pretty authentically. I don't know. It's a strange little baby idea. But it seems like that happens. I don't know why.
It's like maybe is it more of your not no, I don't know why. Like I'm sitting here trying to think of why it could be, but
yeah, maybe it's like being in touch with like the natural world, and maybe in general there are people that are like lower class that are having to experience hard time. I don't know exactly what it is, but maybe some of the like negative hardships of certain regions too, like impact
Right. Well, and I mean, I feel like in the mountain region, it's more of, hey, we're all in this together. Like,
Sure.
there's not a whole lot of exterior influence. Like, you're not going to get somebody necessarily coming from like Nashville up into the mountain regions because it's a different way to live. Like, you
Yeah.
have to be ready to live in that kind of region.
Yes, I think you're right that there is some of like lack of the outside world or delaying of it.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, even like what people wear and everything, it's just, you know, it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a good way to word that without coming off like, oh yeah, nobody wants to go live in the mountains, which isn't true. It's just a different way to live. Like, it's a hard way to live. Like,
Yeah.
I lived in New Mexico, which is like the high desert. That's not a mountain region, but you're on the like the foothills of a mountain range, and even there, it was hard to live. Like,
Yeah.
you want to talk about like getting used to higher elevation, like that's a step in the right direction. So, but so just kind of looking forward, you've got a busy rest of 2025. And you mentioned that you may kind of release some of your recordings for the NPR deal, or is that
Yeah,
just kind of
I'm thinking I will for sure release something this year. It likely will be not an entire album, like maybe a single or a demo of something I've been writing, but I'll definitely be putting some stuff out. I have a lot of new music, and I also been putting things up on like YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. So
I'm glad to see you didn't get rid of your TikTok.
yes, I kept it. I heard about some musicians like deleting the app, and then when it came back, you can't download it again. So I'm like,
Yep.
glad I stayed on there. But you know, TikTok's not been my my best social media platform, but I still put myself out there.
Right? It's like TikTok is a hard nut to crack, but honestly, right now, most of my attention is coming from Instagram, Facebook, and oddly, Threads.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like Facebook and Instagram are better for me, and then YouTube has been doing better recently. But I had a video on TikTok do really well, but it didn't have my music playing in it. It was like weird accommodations on tour, so like
Yeah.
loosely related. So, and then me getting stung by a wasp, people were into that. So, you know, I'm just like, I can't win here.
Right? I had a friend, she went viral on TikTok because she was doing yoga on a log over like a river. She lived out in, I think she was, at that point she was in Colorado. So she was like doing yoga over a log over a river, and she fell off the log and went rolling down the river. But she had her phone set up because she was trying to film it for something.
Yeah.
And like, she was just like, yeah, screw it, I'm gonna upload it to TikTok or whatever, and it just went like crazy. And I'm like, people love to see people screw up or get hurt. So
Yeah. Now just put your music in the back of it. Maybe
Right.
do it.
right. Like, I mean, hey, that's a good way to do it. Like, if you've got a video that is tried and true, that it's gonna do something, just keep uploading it, but put your music underneath it. So
Yeah. Pretty funny.
yeah. So if anybody wants to check out your music, socials, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
So anywhere you listen to music, you can find me under Ashtyn Barbaree. And then that's my name on all social media handles except for Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm Miss Ashtyn, MISSASHTYN. But everywhere else, it's consistent.
Fair. Actually, that threw me off when
I know, it's not good.
no, when you messaged me on Instagram before we jumped on here to let me know you had just gotten my message, I was like, wait a minute, who is this? Because it was just like the notification on my phone.
Yeah.
And then I went into the app and I was like, oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
so it threw me off a little bit, but
Sorry.
it's all good.
Yeah,
So.
I'm just throwing people off with that one, but I had that account before I knew that I was going to be going by my full name. for music.
Nice. How many like stage name changes have you gone through in your career, or has it always kind of been?
I like whenever I went kind of solo and was like, I'm gonna write my own songs and be the lead singer of something. I'm tired of everybody. That I've been going by Ashtyn Barbaree that whole time. Before that, I was in many different like band names, way too many. And then I would join and kind of be like a backup singer, or I even was like a flautist in a band, and different, way too many bands. It's funny, actually. I should like try to write them all down because it's like unreasonable.
Fair. So you basically had your Instagram when it was just your personal Instagram, but then instead of making a personal and a professional, just keep it all one and the same. Yes,
and I know that is kind of confusing, but it does, when you click on it, it does say Ashtyn Barbaree, and it has a little check mark so people can know it's the real one. And we'll see if there was an easy way to just I don't know. It's kind of weird with changing the account.
Yeah, it's not easy. And then opening up a second account, that just sounds annoying. Like,
and I actually did. I opened one up and then I disabled it, so I have the name just in case I ever want it.
You got to go buy it from yourself to
yeah, I like made an account and then everyone got confused, so I disabled it, but it's there. So.
Nice. It's it's the struggles of social media. Just the world we live in. So, but once again, I do want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute blast. One thing that I want to do here before we wrap this up is, what's one piece of advice you would like to pass on to young musicians out in the world?
I think putting yourself out there and interacting with musicians in the scene that are kind of doing well in the genre that you are, and just getting to know people. I mean, you'd be surprised if you want help from local musicians, or there's a lot of people in this scene, and you'd be surprised who could kind of hold your hand through some of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, I really appreciate your time. Glad we made it through without any interference, any drop off, any power outage.
Yes.
It was a good timing. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Live and Amplified's Indie Fusion podcast. If you'd like to support anything Live and Amplified does, please follow us on all of our social media platforms at Live, the letter N, Amplified. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, any of them, all of them, at Live, the letter N, Amplified. And if you would like to buy any official Live and Amplified merch, you can do so at our merch shop, link in the description below. Once again, thank you all. Have a great day.